I turned you down because that one had wait because that one had background noise. The worst the last time.
I feel like that's a personal attack.
I turned you down because you're loud. Okay.
Damn.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but I also like haven't been caffeinated.
What is your sign?
I'm a Cancer.
A Cancer. Okay.
But I'm a Sagittarius rising, so I come off like an air sign.
That sounds like a movie.
Sagittarius rising.
God.
After Jupiter ascending.
Sagittarius rising. Rated R. Only in theaters.
No, I'm also an Aries moon because God decided he hated me. And he was like, this bitch.
I'll be real. I know nothing about any of this. I know, like, as a Taurus, I'm supposedly stubborn and I overthink things. And that's that's pretty on point.
Do you like food?
I do love food.
Yeah, boom. Taurus stereotype.
People like food.
No, only Taurus is like food,
But
obviously.
Tauruses specifically really like food.
What?
And sleeping. That's like my cat. My cat's a Taurus.
See, that's the opposite, though. I don't sleep well. I'm like a borderline insomniac.
But do you like to sleep?
I do. I think everybody likes to sleep.
That's what I'm saying. What sign are you going to ask
See,
that says...
and as an Aquarius, Michael has to debate all of this. Because
No, he is such a contrarian all the time.
I know. He's literally the billboard for like an Aquarius man.
Michael, now you know why you are the way you are. It's because you're
It's the moon.
He's wearing...
And the stars.
Okay, listen. Our bodies are made up of 80% water. So you can't tell me that the moon doesn't affect us.
No, it
There's
does.
no water on the moon. Okay, maybe there's a little bit. I don't remember. No, it's on
it's
Mars.
a gravitational pull. So it's like whatever position we are rotated, the moon has a higher
I think
magnitude.
they're moving my body tides.
Spoken like a true Taurus.
Taurus is no shit, man.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Isn't it a thing where it's like a full moon makes people crazy?
Absolutely.
And I noticed that at work. I'm like, people are acting a little like...
It was a full moon. One day I was working at Target and some man just walked into like the vestibule, like the area between the doors, and was just wigging out and screaming at himself. Just like, no!
But does that only affect like a certain percentage of people? Because it's like when there's a full moon, for me, I don't be howling at it and
That's true.
acting crazy, you know?
That's because you're not a werewolf.
Okay.
That's a different
Oh,
subspecies.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Makes sense.
Good thing we brought a certified witch onto the podcast.
Yeah. They call me a dwarf. I'm a dwarven witch orc.
Okay.
That's my fantastical
all right.
build.
Lord of the Rings over here. This
You know
is
what?
getting real.
I was concerned about making an introduction for
Introduction.
This is your classic
Aquarian
Aquarius.
move. Jeez.
Aquariuses are all real marble mouths. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Jeez.
I want to hear the introduction.
I was concerned about making an introduction, but I feel like I'm like a dork. I'm a dwarven elf. Whatever you just said.
Witch. I'm not an elf.
Yeah, obviously. Duh.
Okay.
I can see your ears.
That's hurtful. A little bit.
Are you really good with a bow?
No, but I'm so good with a battle axe.
Okay.
Dwarf.
Oh,
the
okay, I thought
Yeah.
elf.
I get, so I'm enormous as a person. Like I'm a tall lady, I'm Viking build, right? So like that's the orc part of me.
Okay.
But the dwarf is my personality. I'm like constantly compared to Gimli.
Okay.
Like I will pop off at any moment.
Do you get really excited at the sight of mithril?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I have an essential oil build just out of mithril.
Do you have sort of a bloodlust and, like battle makes you excited?
100%.
Do you count your kills?
Yeah.
23.
Is that why you got a kind of like tall, lithe, like blondish kind of friend that you need to befriend? I don't know if I'm talking about anyone in the room.
I'm just really drawn to the essence of mediocre white men.
Okay, hold on, Michael. Are you comparing yourself to Legolas right now? He's got some Orlando Bloom qualities to him, I guess.
Also, you're not mediocre. You're like superior.
Oh. Thank you.
If he was in Lord of the Rings, he'd be superior ogre.
Ooh.
Ooh, die. Welcome.
Eat glass.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
I'm Kayla.
And today we have a special guest. She's my coworker, ex-coworker, friend, cat lover, which makes her an expert on one of our movies in this podcast. Also an anime head, which was good to bring in because I don't know anything about anime at all. It's Kayla Sorley.
Yeah.
What's up? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on.
Woo.
This is turn.
Let's talk movies, fellas.
Let's do it.
Wait, are your pronouns he, him? Both of you?
I'm a guy.
Oh my god.
Isn't that? Wait, I don't know.
I identify as a fella.
Oh my god. I just checking.
Okay, so today we're talking about two movies. This is not going off the rails. This is how I wanted it. We're doing Puss in Boots and we're doing Super Dragon Ball Broly, something like that.
It's Dragon Ball Z Super Broly.
No, wait, hold on. No.
Did we watch the wrong
No.
movie?
That would be so mad.
Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super : Broly.
Is that not what I just
No,
said?
you said Dragon Ball Super Z Broly. You said Dragon Ball Z Super Broly.
Rewind the tape.
We'll run the tape back.
Okay.
We'll prove if he's a liar.
Typical Doris.
So, today we're going to start off with Puss in Boots, and then we will discuss Dragon Ball, because me and Kayla were unfamiliar with Dragon Ball. We might need to be caught up a little bit, and I just feel like Puss in Boots is something we all understand.
Is this the most accessible for you guys?
Look, as a person who has a cat,
You felt this, huh?
I felt this.
I'm sorry. Are we talking about Puss in Boots right now?
No. What other movie with a cat are we going to talk about today?
I was going to say Quigley, but that's a
they
dog.
they all had tails in Dragon Ball Z. I was very confused.
They were monkeys.
But they're monkeys. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They kind of have cat-looking tails.
Is that why Frieza kept calling them monkey?
Yes.
I thought it was a racial harm.
No.
Slur?
I did think it was a slur. I think it's a both and.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely says it to be, like, mean to them.
I was really uncomfortable.
They're members of a race of great apes. That's what it's called. But we'll get into that when we reach
might be.
Super. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is the third Puss in Boots movie, which is a branch of the Shrek universe. Puss in Boots was introduced to.
I believe
Yes.
so.
Yep.
Yes. Played by Antonio Banderas.
Her.
And it's kind of a Zorro knockoff. I have never watched a Puss in Boots movie. I quit.
Same.
I quit Shrek after Shrek 3. I was out of there. How about you guys, Kaylin?
Yeah, I was never a big Shrek fan, even when I was little. I just thought Shrek was kind of, I don't know, it was whatever. Puss in Boots, it's whatever. I was really not interested to watch this movie, but then I saw it on Peacock, and I was like, well, might as well. I've heard good things about it. It's pretty fantastic.
I agree.
Yeah.
Kayla.
Yeah, I watched all the way up to maybe the fourth Shrek, but Shrek 2 is, I think, a cinematic. I think Shrek 2 could be a perfect movie on your list. And the soundtrack is so good.
See, all these movies meld together for me, and I can't remember what goes on in which film.
Shrek 2 is Prince Charming, and when Shrek turns into a man, and they're supposed to kiss at midnight, and
and he's like conflicted on whether or not he wants to go back to being an ogre. Or whatever.
Yeah, they go to far, far away, meet the in-laws, that whole thing, and there's like a lot of like,
there's giant,
species
giant, Mr. Not my gumdrop buttons, but he's like 50 feet tall.
Yeah, and then
the Muffin Man.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, honestly, it's iconic, the scene where the fairy godmother is singing, I need a hero!
Oh, yeah.
That one. And that's when Gummy
Okay,
falls
it's
down.
all coming back
There
to
you
me
go,
now.
yeah.
Okay.
I think Shrek and Shrek 2 are pretty solid. Shrek the Third, iffy. That's when I fell off the wagon. And I don't think the Puss in Boots movies have a great reputation.
Once Eddie Murphy Donkey started having babies with the dragon, I was kind of like, you guys are losing me. This is...
Just jump the shark.
Yeah.
I
They're
don't-
very inappropriate children's movies. That's what I remember.
Same with this one, a little bit.
Yeah, there's some innuendo for sure.
So, fun fact, a bunch of students from my school went to go see this as a field trip, and the teacher's face when she walked back in, she's like, I think they might be traumatized. Like, this was not what we expected.
It was kind of scary like the villain was awesome, like in a very like badass but like also terrifying way, which was super like unexpected going into this. So that was a highlight.
This movie definitely has traumatized a few like small children. It is also not. It's the first of what I think may be many ripoffs of the Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse aesthetic.
Yes.
Have you seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse?
And know what? That's so interesting because like the art style, I wanted to ask you two about it because I thought of it as like a Mexican anime.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the name of it, but all of the battle scenes, like the fight scenes, had a very specific art style, and I was super into it.
I would say that it definitely takes inspiration. I wouldn't say it's a ripoff, but it takes inspiration from the Spider-Verse movie.
Sure.
As far as like the blending of 2D and 3D animation and almost like making it look like a comic book panel.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting art style. And when it's used right, it's very effective. And it's like there's just so much going on the screen, but it doesn't feel overwhelming. You know what I mean?
Shall we move along and get into the performance test?
Let's do it.
It was the performance of a lifetime.
The performance test is where we talk about our favorite scenes, actors' performances, and moments. I think a special shout out is deserved for our opening action sequence with the giant like mountain colossus at the very beginning of the movie.
I wrote this down. What is it called? Like the giant swamp monster?
Yeah. That was the action sequences in this are just very, I mean, it's funny because this is coming from a children's movie, but they're very engaging. And like I said, it's not oppressive, and you can see every movement that the characters are making and stuff. You can just tell like there's just so much work that went into this. Like just animating choreography in the first place is incredibly difficult. And with a small cat to make that like engaging for the audience, that's a feat for sure.
You know what it reminded me of? If you're familiar with the PlayStation game Shadow of the Colossus, it reminded me of like a boss battle from Shadow of the Colossus, which is just a game where you fight like
titans.
Yeah, basically. There's nothing else going on. You fight a bunch of like sad monsters.
Don't
Some of them
like
are sad and more
climb
evil.
on top of them.
You're climbing on them. You're stabbing their weak points. This one ends with, aha, Spanish Splinter.
So I'm not familiar with that, but I did write down, hey, I might like this. It's about cats and witchcraft. So that was my take off of the beginning scene.
Yeah. It's got that weird like Day of the Dead kind of vibe going on where it's like, it kind of reminded me of Nacho Libre though too. Which, because it's like whenever, like you said, he's like calling out his special moves and stuff. I was like, this is just like luchador Nacho Libre shit. Like,
yeah.
It was pretty fun.
Very, Puss in Boots as a character is a very dramatic guy. At the beginning, the whole point of the movie is, let's give a short summary maybe. Puss in Boots is on his last life. Cats have 9 lives. He's frivolously thrown away his first 8. Now he realizes he's on his last one, and a wolf is after him, which we later learn is just the living embodiment of death. Which is like, is this a kid's movie?
Right. Right. We're literally introducing kids to your own mortality.
But like the whistle was hauntingly beautiful. Like, holy cow. I just got goosebumps every time.
Well, well. If it isn't Puss in Boots himself. In the flesh.
Hey.
He's got such a deep cadence to his voice, and it's raspy, and it's really terrifying, and it kind of like you feel tingles when you hear him talk, that kind of thing.
I think I really appreciated that too, because when I first started the movie, I was like, I'm gonna hate this because contrary to me saying I'm gonna like this because it's about cats and witchcraft, I was like, I'm gonna hate this because it's about like just hyper masculine, like, I'm so cool and tough. And I was like, this is gonna be really annoying. I don't care. But I think the wolf was really good at like contrasting that. in a way. And I mean, I don't want to give away any spoilers, right? But like that's kind of the whole deal that Puss has to grapple with his masculinity and just get over his ego throughout the movie.
And also there's a very strong female character in this as well.
Kitty Softpaws, per queen.
Shout out to Selma Hayek as Kitty Softpaws. Selma Hayek.
Oh my God.
Whoa, okay. We got
Pipe down there.
We got a furry over here. Relax, guys.
Anime's not till the next one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He was really disappointed when there's no tentacles in this movie.
Oh no.
I think she is a strong female character. She's a counterbalance to the brashness of Puss in Boots. I am Puss in Boots.
Yeah.
His sort of fall from being the, like you said, the hyper masculine, the like Zorro ripoff, which he's always been. And they cast Antonio Banderas because he was Zorro. Like, it's breaking that character down and putting him in a real situation and like ripping his mask off, and then we get our character. You know, that's when we get our hero's journey. Once he's down to like a real character and not this person he's been playing his whole life, because that's when he's really confronting like, who am I really? What is my life added up to? My 8 lives are gone. I have this last 9 life. What am I going to do with it?
Right.
Which is like heavy themes for a kid's movie, I think. But it's also like poppy and flashy and fun enough that I think you can bring a kid to it and they'll just be like, wow, whiz bang, look at the cute puppy. Haha. It's over.
Yeah.
Well, and I would argue too, like every fairy tale derives from like really heavy themes. Like I took a graduate course randomly on Hans Christian Andersen, and like that stuff is not the same. Like Frozen does not end with a happy little Olaf. It's very different. The Snow Queen is
Oh, that's an actual fairy tale?
Yeah, I literally took this course as Frozen came out. It was wild. It was my freshman year of college, my first semester ever. So it's a whole story, and Frozen's based off of it, but it's not congruent with the actual
really
story.
Interesting. I always thought it was just something that the studio made up.
No, and it's like Little Mermaid. She's supposed to dissolve into sea foam.
Oh yeah,
at the end.
The Little Mermaid story is very dark. They had, I guess, like the process of her becoming a human. Like it feels like knives stabbing her in her feet whenever she walks, and it's really depressing. And like, yeah, fairy tales have always been notoriously dark, but of course Disney takes that formula and creates something accessible for children, which is fine. But yeah, that's interesting.
Which I think is why I do appreciate DreamWorks, because they have a little bit more of the like darkness. Yeah. You know, and the adult humor that Disney sometimes lacks.
Right.
I wonder if that kind of stuff is just coming back, because I feel like a lot of movies, Pixar included, which is a Disney company, have kind of gone back to like having heavier themes. I'm thinking of, I'm forgetting the name of it, but like the Dia de los Muertos Pixar
Coco.
movie.
Oh, Coco, yeah.
That's all about like losing an old loved one.
And the movie Soul by Pixar is all about, I mean, it's about death in the afterlife and how to move on from tragedy kind of thing. Like,
Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I just watched Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, a movie Kaylin turned off and disregarded, and it destroyed me. It is so sad, and it is also about like grieving the loss of. It's all about putting his grandma down to rest. Basically, is a lot of the movie. So I wonder if that's something coming back. I don't know what kind of cultural forces are bringing that, but it seems like it's a thing that
because we lived in a fucked up world.
Yeah, people want some like soul in their entertainment again. Yeah. They need a little like like they want the escapism. There's all the fun things that are in this movie, but at the core, I think people have some desire to like grasp some meaning out of like the fluffy stuff even.
Right.
I think like from an educational standpoint though too, like a lot of these movies are appealing to teaching students like social emotional learning skills. Like you look at Inside Out, and we base the zones of regulation, trademarked, not us, you know, off of that. And even in this movie, like Puss has a panic attack Like, and
A
I
very
felt that.
like realistic one. As
Yeah,
well.
like even the like screen, like the way that they shot it, I was like, I felt myself like having to take a deep breath,
Right.
and then Perito puts his little head on his
That was one of
wappy.
that was one of the parts that made me cry. I was like,
Yeah.
he is a good therapy dog.
I'm like thinking of all the sad people.
I
who
found
just
him
need
very
love from
annoying.
their pets.
I found him very annoying up until that point, which is kind of funny. I didn't think the voice actor for him was very effective. I caught it like the pitch in his voice was a little off to me the entire time. But when that scene happened, I was like, oh, okay, he has a purpose in this movie.
He's not just the like annoying classic, like annoying sidekick.
Yeah,
like
he's not just donkey.
He's not C-3PO in this story. You know.
I like,
too.
thought he was going to be like the Taco Bell dog.
Quiero Taco Bell.
There's a part
Yeah.
of this movie I thought he was gonna have like a heel turn. Like underneath all this, he's like actually like the mastermind of this whole plot.
Right.
Oh yeah.
You do everything.
Oi, you shut up, you little mutt, or I'll cut you from pooper to snooter!
I'm in the mix now. Okay, here we go. You're all a bunch of knuckle-dragging, honey-scrounging, grub oafish munching, mangy nugget, and you're snooter.
I like the cut of his jib.
Maybe like full spoilers. We can spoil some of this movie if you want to know nothing. I would just say I recommend it and go watch it. It's on Peacock. You can rent it for a couple bucks. It's available if you need to. But when Puss retires and goes to the cat lady's house,
Mama Luna.
Mama Luna.
I want to be her.
Yeah, I was gonna. You're basically the white Mama Luna.
Thank you. That means a lot to me.
And she gets mugged by the Goldilocks and the Three Bears. They just
Florence Pugh,
they just
What?
do like a home invasion on her.
the health inspector. I told you not to come back.
I think one of the bears like body slams her all times.
So the overall
Also,
plot
I'm into.
is the last wish is he needs to find this scroll, which is a map to this falling star, which you can make your last wish. And there's a few different parties that are after it. It's Puss in Boots with Kitty Softpaws and Perrito, who he meets in the cat lady's house. There's the Three Bears and Goldilocks. They're after it because Goldilocks wants it to wish for a real family to be with. She wants a human family is what she's looking for. And then there is Jack. What's his name? Jack
Little
Horner.
Jack Horner.
Little Jack Horner.
Voiced by John Mulaney. Are you joking?
Yeah. Do you know who that is?
What do I know him in?
Oh,
I'm not good with
Let me
names
tell
and
you.
faces.
He's a stand-up.
let's get to let the hate flow through you.
Oh, you do not like John Mulaney?
I am angry about his life choices. I'm
Okay.
still, so one of my alternative titles for this is I'm still mad at John Mulaney.
What did he do?
Can we save it for a second?
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
we forgot to do alternative titles, and we'll do it
Oh,
before it's an art bro. But John Mulaney is Jack Horner, and he's like the third party that is also after the star. So shall we move on? Or do we have more to say in the performance test?
Let's do some
That's fine.
alternate titles, man.
I'm down for it. Kayla, how many did you bring to the table?
Well, my main one was I figured out I'm still mad at John Mulaney.
Okay. Can you explain this, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So, John Mulaney reportedly cheated on his wife, Anna Marie Tendler, who was an artist, with Olivia Munn.
Wait, can we put a pin in it? This is the Dirt Report with Kayla Sorley. The Dirt Report.
Here's my thing. I am just mad because he is like, again, I just vibe with mediocre white men. And I was like, oh, this guy is funny. He's a comedian. I'm into it. And then he like broke all of our hearts by cheating on his precious, precious bean of a wife. And and with an Olivia. And here's a hot listen, I'm a feminist, okay? And I don't want to cancel myself over this, but I think if your name is Olivia and you are a Hollywood star, you are problematic.
Ooh.
Olivia Munn, Olivia Wilde, both problematic.
Don't like him.
Homewreckers, cheaters.
This guy does have a very punchable face, I will say that.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Caitlin. If you give me a tall, lanky white man with angular bone structure, there's something about it that I'm like, yeah, that's the thing. And
He
John
wears a-
Mulaney fits that
There's
description.
a big supply of those. So
He's wearing suits
Get
all
your
the
shopping
time.
cart out and put them on in there, buddy.
Jesus. All right, my alternate title. This will connect. You know, I hear endless talk about Brendan Fraser in The Whale, but I don't see anyone talking about John Mulaney's transformation to a 600-pound man in this movie.
You're going to have to explain this a little bit. Hold on.
What is there to explain?
Brendan Fraser in The Whale, he's a 600-pound
Okay,
man.
okay. Okay, yeah. No, that just was a lot at once. Hold on. Go ahead.
John Mulaney turns into a 600-pound man in this movie.
Okay, now we're kicking.
Because John, what's his name, is big as hell.
Yeah.
Little
I
Jack
just forgot
Horner
what character he was for a second, so we're good.
It's the guy who's literally named Big.
I know he's
Jack
got
Horner.
and he's got the thumb.
Yeah.
He does the thumb thing.
He's got the magical bag.
and he's an asshole to all his employees.
The baker's dozen.
Sweet mother of goose, Jack!
Well, you know what they say. Can't bake a pie without losing a dozen men.
Oh, that was horrible! Your wish is horrible! You're horrible! You're an irredeemable monster!
Oh, what took you so long, idiot?
All right, rousing success. Alternate titles. Shall we move on
Please.
to It's an Art Bro?
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
Yeah, Mexican anime.
It's a Mexican anime.
That is, I kind of like that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's really validating.
Or like you say anime and there's like a whip crack in the background.
Yeah, I would say a real, not a Western anime, but a real Western anime.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
I love the really like painterly impressionist backgrounds that they use, especially when it's in a small setting. Like when he's in the doctor's office, it's all like painted in the back except for like the thing he's sitting on and the doctor he's talking to and like the tray of tools the doctor has. Everything else looks like a watercolor.
Yeah.
And that's like a great setup, especially for like when he's kind of on like a spiritual journey. Like he literally died. Like it's the Pinocchio thing. Like he died and came to life and the doctor's checking him out. Like
Right.
it's kind of a trip.
I really love the whole magical land that they went to. I think the concept of like whoever looks at the map, the landscape changes depending on what their soul is like, kind of thing. I thought that was really cool. I thought it was really underutilized though. I thought they could have did more with that.
I was just gonna say the end credit scene, weirdly enough, where they're rolling the credits, and before the big one where the list comes in, but you know where they have action shots, they just have stills of the movie, and it's really beautiful. And specifically, there's one where like Goldie is on top of Baby Bear and then Mama and Papa are on the sides and they're like walking through this alleyway, but it's like this dark sea green and it's visually very stunning. I was like actually like, wow, this is really pretty.
Yeah, I think that's what this movie has in common with Spider-Verse. Is like you can pause on like any frame and it could turn into like a wallpaper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Super cool.
You know, every character gets like the whip crack intro title where it's like whoosh, and you get the like wanted poster with their face and their character title. That's a very like Guy Ritchie, Quentin Tarantino, like
yeah,
we're
for sure.
stealing it
Yeah.
from there.
Well, there's like some
type of
Kill Bill
idea.
like nods, like I think the wedding like flashback to where Puss doesn't show up to his own wedding or whatever. I mean, that was like straight out of Kill Bill, like the way it looked and everything, and the chapel and stuff.
I have a question about that, actually. I couldn't understand because when he's talking about it and then Kitty Softpaws is like, don't be sorry, I didn't show up to the wedding either. But then later she talks about being disappointed in trusting him again. So do you think Kitty Softpaws actually went to the wedding and lied to Puss? Or do you think she actually ditched out on the wedding and was being truthful?
I think she dished out on the wedding. She's saying she is disappointed because Puss ran off with the map again and he's there. She catches him there trying to use it to save himself, which she doesn't know the whole reasoning behind it.
Right.
So he was, again, not fully honest with her and not, I don't know, being open. I think that's what that's about. I think she's probably not lying about I wasn't even there. Maybe she is, but I didn't get that impression.
Right.
What do you think, Kayla?
I think I agree with Michael, where It seemed in her character to do the same thing. You know what I mean? But she had also been heartbroken by him many times before, it's alluded to. So it's kind of like she expected that out of him, kind of thing. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
Bet.
You mentioned it earlier, but the wolf whistle is a very spine-tingling note. It raises your furs just like it raises Puss in Boots when he hears it. It's really like that's a real classic like horror trope. The like sound,
Yes.
or like even like a Western trope when like someone enters the scene and you hear their theme like come in on the soundtrack.
Right.
That was yeah. He's really just terrifying.
Yeah.
Honestly, and it's really really more intense than I would expect for a movie that is targeted at small children.
Right.
You are no bounty hunter. You are death.
And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way. I'm death, straight up. And I've come for you, Puss in Boots.
But I'm still alive.
You know, I'm not a cat person. I find the very idea of 9 lives absurd. And you didn't value any of them. So, why don't I do us both a favor and take this last one now?
I think he's terrifying because he, like, the opening scene where we see him in is like, or the first scene we see him in is when he's sitting in the bar. And he's not like outright the villain. And that's almost what makes it worse, is like death can kind of just always be there. And you're not necessarily like, oh, here comes death,
Because,
like busting down the doors.
The concept of death, it's not an evil thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just kind of a force of nature. And like you can really feel that with that character. I was actually watching a Chris Stuckman review of this movie, and he was saying that the wolf character he thought was the most compelling and cool like villain since Scar from The Lion King.
Yeah.
And I kind of agree with him on that, where it's like, even though he's not, I don't think he's as fleshed out as Scar was, but as far as like a presence whenever he's on screen, I think he's really effective. So
Yeah. And the whistle, the other thing I want to mention about the whistle, to me, I didn't think Western. I thought of Hunger Games, where they do like the...
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing that I liked about this more is it was sometimes underlaid with the music. It wasn't always just like things would fade away and you'd hear the whistle. It was always like in the background, and I have goosebumps talking about it right now. Like that was the part that really moved me, was it didn't always just have its own spotlight. It was just kind of always like, oh, it's going on, and this is going on, and death is here. Like, it was so creepy.
What I didn't really like, though, I guess, was like at the end, the realization that he's a physical being.
Sure.
And that everybody can see him. I kind of like the aspect of like he's more of a psychological terror in Puss in Boots' mind, where it's like he's teetering on death so hard that he's actually like manifesting that entity or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too hard into it, but I thought it was more effective as like something psychologically that he had to battle within himself.
Yeah.
I agree. I like that.
And it kind of just came out of nowhere. They're like, "Oh, who is this guy?" Like all the other characters, like, "Oh, who is that? Why?" You know.
Well, like you were saying, he's kind of Kayla. That he's kind of like sidecar to the main plot. The main plot is driven by Puss in Boots' fear of death, but he is, as far as he knows, for most of the movie, he's just a random bounty hunter that's after him, and he's not the manifestation of death itself. He doesn't figure that out until later. But he's not like a part of the driving plot, really. A lot of the plot is centered around the three bears and Goldilocks and Big John, whatever the fuck.
Jack Horner.
That's what
played by John Mulaney.
Big John Mulaney.
Big John Mulaney.
Played by Big John Mulaney.
That's what they called me in high school.
They are like the main plot for like a lot of the middle and to the end of the movie, and death shows up and like interrupts that plot for Puss.
Yeah.
He's not fully like enwrapped in the narrative.
Yeah, so overall, I think we can all agree that the art style is amazing. The music is effective.
Yes.
The characters are great. Should we move on to our final question? Or do you have anything else to say?
We have to do let the hate flow through you.
Oh yeah. Totally forgot.
Good. Use your aggressive feelings, boy. Let the hate flow through you.
And I just want to say, I'm glad they finally did it. They finally made a movie that hates rich people. You know, we haven't had enough of those recently. There's too much empathy for rich people right now.
Honestly.
It just seems like every fucking movie hates the rich person, which I get it.
What was the movie that I just watched
You're
that
looking
was
at
just
me
like
like-
that? The Menu. This is
Yes.
another one.
The Menu, Glass Onion,
Yeah.
Triangle of Sadness. Every movie hates the rich people.
It's
which
just
is
the
fine.
state of the world.
It's
right
really
now.
like he's just a big time nepo baby. He doesn't even know why he wants the wish.
Yeah.
He just is like, I'm mad now.
Well, I feel like there was a wee bit of backstory because at some point we see little Jack Horner and he puts his thumb in the pudding pie, but no one's watching the carriage because they're all watching Pinocchio. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but that's a let the hate flow through you. I didn't understand. There goes my alcoholic drink. Sorry, there goes sloshing into the microphone. Wisconsinite. It's cool. What was I saying? Yeah, like they don't explain why that made him sad, other than he didn't have attention. That doesn't seem like a good enough backstory.
Here's what I think, and I think this goes for the larger majority of characters, is the idea of legacy and purpose.
Preach. Tell me more.
So Jack Horner, he wants to be special, and he feels like in his past he was treated as lesser than, even though he had all the qualities of somebody else who is quote unquote special. And with Puss in Boots, it's like he wants to be this legend who's undefeatable, and he's, you know, this badass person and remembered forever kind of thing. And it's the same kind of deal with other characters, and you'd think the dog character, where he just wants to be loved and he wants to be accepted and find some type of purpose for his life too, because the purpose for him, he thinks, is he's a service dog or whatever. So yeah, I think that's the larger narrative focus, is like finding purpose, and among that purpose is always that fear of death. And if death comes for you and you don't fulfill that purpose, that's a scary concept. You know what I mean? So I don't know if I explained that.
No, it makes
well
a lot
enough.
of sense, especially for Puss in Boots' character, because we have the moment where him and his previous 8 lives all kind of just talk to each other.
Right.
He gets to talk about the previous versions of himself, and you really get the sense that, like, while he was this famous legend and he was adored by many, it's the like classic like downfall of fame, where it's like, I was adored by many but known by none. Like,
Yeah.
I lived alone and I had this fame and fortune, and I, you know, lived my life in all these frivolous ways, and now I'm here at the end of it, and it's like, what did I really live for?
Right.
And
right.
that's the whole deal.
Yeah.
Sounds like he was a Leo.
Do you think he was?
I mean,
Do you think I can look up Puss in Boots' birthday?
Absolutely.
I'm sure it's on there somewhere. There's a wiki, Puss in Boots or Puss in Boots wiki or whatever. They have all the lore for these characters.
Shrekiverse Wikipedia.
Oh, we're in the hate flows through, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I will say this. I do not like at the end when it's like the dog is like, oh, where are we going next? And Puss in Boots is like, we're going to go see some friends. And I'm like, oh God, here comes Shrek fucking 5. Like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, come on, bro. Like, we don't need it, man. Like, I
Mike
don't know.
Myers, what are you up to?
Eddie Murphy, what are you doing?
You're not doing shit. You don't have any work.
I actually have a note on this. It says DreamWorks is really milking the Shrek thing.
Oh, yeah.
Even in the opening, like when you do and the kids like fishing, like Shrek
Mm-hmm.
and Fiona are there.
I did like the little flash montage of like them walking on a bridge, and it was like their silhouettes.
Oh yeah,
And I was like, that's some
The
nostalgia
memory.
bait right there.
When
And-
Puss in Boots is having his life flash before your eyes, which happens
Yeah.
a couple times, and
Yeah.
Beth is thrilled by that.
I was like, oh yeah, Shrek and Donkey.
but also like a direct parallel to like Timon, Pumbaa, and Simba.
Oh
on
yeah,
the log.
definitely. That was a DreamWorks dig at
Oh,
Disney for sure.
100%. We can do it too, guys.
You ever made a heartfelt family film?
We can do it, but with an ogre.
It's funny because Shrek started out as a joke.
Yeah.
So, and it ended up working somehow.
It's a big dumb parody.
Yeah. And
it was supposed to star Chris Farley.
Yeah, until his untimely
Then
death.
he
Yeah.
Cocaine. It's took a lot of
Somebody once told me that.
He lived in a van down by the river, guys. It was expected.
I feel like they really hedged their bets by having a very adorable cat and then also a very adorable mangy dog. I feel like they should have committed as a cat first movie. I don't know.
Cat
what I'm
lives.
saying?
I'm processing this. I'm
Like they should have gone
actively
all the way
processing
in,
this.
like kitties, all the damn time.
Well, also then you could have named it Perrito.
Yeah.
Oh.
Meow meow.
But then, but the dog thought he was a cat at first, so it's fine.
Yeah, with this little outfit.
Yeah.
It was very cute.
Yeah.
And they named him Pickles.
Maybe they needed to appeal to the audience that only likes dogs.
Yeah, because you know that crowd.
Yeah,
right?
they were like-
dogs are superior. We got it.
They're like, we can't watch this movie. It's got a bunch of cats. No, wait, it has a dog.
You're holding up this like mangy little fucker.
Even though it's a chihuahua wearing a sock.
He reminded me of JoJo.
Yes, the only Chihuahua that we know.
Why are you so ridiculous, dog? What's your story?
My story? Oh, it's actually a very funny story. Back when I was a pup, me and my litter mates lived with a family full of pranksters. We liked to play hide and seek, and I was always it. Pick on the little guy, am I right? They tried putting me in a packing crate, a dumpster. No matter how hard they try, I'd always find them. So one day, they get creative, and they put me in a sock with a rock in it, and then throw me in a river. I gnawed a hole in the sock, and I swam to the surface. Never found them, or my litter mate, so I guess I'm still it.
Wow. That is the saddest, funny story I've ever heard.
Is this the best Shrek movie?
It's not a Shrek movie, so no.
But it's the Shrekiverse.
It's the best DreamWorks movie since
How to Train Your Dragon?
Yes. And then How to Train Your Dragon was the best Pixar movie since Prince of Egypt. I don't know if you've ever seen Prince of Egypt.
I haven't,
But that is a incredibly well-made movie.
I do know the plague sound because I like to listen to it when I practice witchcraft.
Oh, okay. Just
Anyways.
conjuring locusts.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Into your house, into your bread, into your drink, into your...
I'm scared right now,
We're
guys.
gonna be listening to the podcast and there's gonna be like bugs like pulling it.
Do
Oh
you
my
live?
God.
Do you live in Anoka?
I do not.
Okay.
She wishes.
The Halloween capital of
witches.
the world? Ooh. I did just travel to Salem, and I did have a real-life witch verify that my cat is indeed my familiar, and I might cry because she is a very good girl. She gets me.
I'm terrified of this whole conversation. Right now.
Let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Broly.
Hey, you! It's about time I got a chance to fight.
All right, so Kaylin, you made us watch Dragon Ball Super Broly. And by made us watch, I mean I watched it.
Okay.
Kaylin, what's going on?
All right. So I knew this was gonna happen because this is like the 9th or 10th movie in a long line of Dragon Ball related films. Jesus Christ.
Peppercorn has strong feelings.
We just got assaulted by the cat right now.
Come by Auntie Kayla.
He didn't want me talking about Dragon Ball Super. He's like, nah, I heard you're into witchcraft, man.
He's a she.
Oh, shit.
Oh, high five!
Okay, all right. She heard you're into witchcraft, and she was like, nah.
Cats are more into witchcraft.
This cat, I don't know, he's got a vibe about him that he's like, nah.
Her.
You keep misgendering my cat.
I'm sorry, kitty.
I know it's confusing because she has a little brown mustache, but it's just because she's a tortoise color.
I'm sorry. You're a girl. Kitty.
Yeah, you're a girl.
All right. Anyways, back
Is
to
that girl a boy too?
back to Dragon Ball, which is full of men.
With rock hard abs. Didn't even get more rock hard.
This is such a manly man's show, man. Dragon Ball Super Broly. Okay, let me go down the long line of Dragon Ball history. Probably should have drank some more coffee before I did this. So it all started out, I think, the late 80s. A little show called Dragon Ball came out. And it was one of the first animes to really grab the attention of the West. And Dragon Ball, the story of Dragon Ball followed the story of a young child, Goku, who is an alien. And if you don't know, Goku is a legit ripoff of Superman.
Oh, that's why they do Superman versus Goku. Who would win?
Yeah. And the whole origin story, which they go through in Dragon Ball Super, is Goku is from a dying planet, and he is sent by his parents to Earth. And that's his whole origin. He's super strong and crazy powerful. Then it moves on to another anime called Dragon Ball Z, which follows the story of an now adult Goku who has children, and he is learning more about his power, and he comes across these very powerful foes, and he dispatches them left and right. And then his relationship with Vegeta, which is another Saiyan from the same planet who was also off planet at the time that the world exploded. And they come together. They form an unlikely bond because Vegeta kind of hates his guts the entire time. But they are friends at their core. And then that leads into the other anime, the newest one, which is Dragon Ball Super, which follows a different arc where they're discovering that there's alternate universes and there's all these crazy powerful characters that come in, and they do at the end this thing called the Tournament of Power, and then they fight a lot of powerful people. The show is about fighting motherfuckers. And there's no real story to this.
Yeah, I caught that.
Yeah. And so if you go into this...
Was it the 40 minutes of punching that did it for you?
So at one point I fell asleep and then I woke up to the same battle scene going
Okay.
on.
Listen, if fighting scenes are your thing and you like real flashy shit, then yes, Dragon Ball is your thing. But it's not going to be as compelling as, say, a Attack on Titan or a Demon Slayer or animes of the same shonen genre, which is battle anime or battle arcs at its core. But there's no story. There's nothing compelling about any of these characters.
Correct.
Which is fine. So I think this movie was a good jumping off point for anybody who doesn't know Dragon Ball. Sure, you're not going to know what the fuck is going on. But you can.
My note says, IDK, what the fuck this is.
Okay, that's
It
why.
was similar notes.
Listen, I think this is the most accessible version of any of the shit you can watch because it is in the same format as a real movie where it has a intro, beginning, a second act, and then a conclusion. And you can kind of understand the grasp with these characters. I think they specifically put in the origin story of Goku and Broly and Vegeta for service of people who do not know anything about this stuff.
Okay, good, because I think you might have accidentally answered one of the questions I had, because at the end, like, I'm like, oh, that's Goku. I know who Goku is, but at the end, they're also like, call me Kakarot. And I'm like...
That's the last line.
Kakarot is his real name. It's like Kal-El as Superman. Yeah.
So Kakarot that left at the beginning is Goku.
Yes.
His name just changed.
Yes.
On Earth.
Goku is his human, or his
okay.
earthly name.
That tracks now, but that didn't track at all until you spoke.
And I understand all these. I understand all of this. Like,
So here's my thing. I did a deep dive into some Reddit threads about this to try to piece together some of the backstory. And just, it has a large following and love on Reddit. Like, people are about this movie. They're like, oh my gosh, this is great. This might be the best anime movie. But the thing that made me actually cackle out loud is people said that the pacing was so, like, done so well. And I have in my notes that so we get the backstory that I'm, like, trying to follow. And then at one point, someone's complaining about the food supply on the ship. And then this guy goes, there's one way for us to reserve food, and then shoots the guy dead. And then literally it says 5 years later, and we see Goku outside a pool. And I'm like,
okay,
what just happened?
So, and then they also try to appeal to people who are actually following the anime and the manga. where it's like, okay, happens after the Tournament of Power arc in Dragon Ball Super. So that it cuts to modern day where it's like this is the continuation of that story. So I totally understand the concept of like people going into this blind and not knowing what the fuck is going on. But I think you can just turn off your brain and kind of enjoy the visual spectacle that's in front of you. You get what I'm saying?
But it looked like it was from the 90s.
That's the point.
The art style has not changed.
That's the point. I actually, this is the first time they've kind of gone back to that style of animation.
Because there's a lot more like the half 2D, 3D stuff going on as
Yes.
Dragon Ball went on, right?
Yes.
Especially in the fight scenes.
And so, I mean, the animation style in Dragon Ball Super is completely different from Dragon Ball Z. Not completely different, but it has Dragon Ball Z had a certain style to it that appealed more to fans, and so that's what they used in Dragon Ball Super. So it was supposed to have this like nostalgic looking feel to it, where it kind of just, I don't know, it's fan service.
The fight scenes are all the like what do you call it? Like the action lines or whatever, you know, the colored lines or
The
like the
speed
black
lines and
lines
stuff?
that
Yeah.
show like action and movement and like hero poses and dudes going and that's like everything for like 40 minutes in the middle of the movie is just dudes being like, he powered up, I gotta power up even harder. And then somebody else in the background be like, oh my god, his power level's so high, how did he do it?
It broke our glasses.
Okay, so this is
He's off the charts, it doesn't register.
That's impossible. That's a state-of-the-art technology. Oh, you're right. It doesn't
So
register.
I'm thinking this section of since we're talking about this, we kind of can't go in format when we talk about this.
Okay.
We're gonna have to kind of lay out all our gripes and lay out everything. You get what I'm saying?
I love that this is like turning into like a diplomatic mission from Kayla to like try to get Dragon Ball.
No, because as a Dragon Ball fan, I can point out the flaws in this anime because I've seen a lot of other anime too.
Okay.
I would say Demon Slayer. I don't know if you've seen Demon Slayer.
I don't watch it, but I've seen like scenes and stuff.
Okay, I would say Demon Slayer is the better example of how to do this type of genre the correct way.
Sure.
Where it's like battle anime, but you also have heart and you have soul and you have some type of story.
You have
for your
characters.
And you don't have like your characters just randomly getting powers for no fucking reason.
Yes.
That you can't keep up with. Because so I don't know if you know anything about Super Saiyans and that kind of shit. When their hair turns a different color, that's when they
Reach a new level.
reach a new level.
Yeah, I caught up.
I
with
had
that.
the Dragon Ball fighting game we played a lot on the PlayStation
Budokai.
back in the day. Dragon Ball Budokai. So everything I know is from that video game.
Okay, so now there's even more. Now his hair turns fucking blue, and
Right.
then it turns white, and then so that's Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Ultra Instinct.
What were they like? He's tapping into his deep ape strength. I was like, I don't know, is this racist?
Oh no.
The concept is fucking stupid, and I will be the first. Not the first, but I will be one to admit it because I am a fan of this dumbass shit.
Sure.
It is stupid, but no Dragon Ball fans watches Dragon Ball for the story. We watch it for the fight scenes.
And that's what Reddit was saying.
Yes.
And like, and I can, so with that lens, like I can appreciate if you are part of a fandom and they come out with something that like really lays into what you enjoy about that
Yes.
series. Like, yeah, then this movie had everything you wanted, right?
Right.
It had these big epic battle scenes that literally lasted for like half an hour.
Yes.
And then there was like 2 minutes of dialogue and then another fight scene. But if that's your jam, then like this served, like this
Right.
delivered. So I mean, I appreciate it from that standpoint, but like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, but also as somebody, I'm a fan, but also I love animation. And so whenever I see something like this that is like kind of breaking new ground as far as like the process of animation and how far they can push it, like this shit right here is a prime example of how like this is animation evolving. Just same as like Spider-Verse, like creating a whole different like animation style. It's just like with this kind of pushes anime where it's like, okay, we can make this even more incredible to look at. You know what I mean? And it's like, it shows the technology that we have today is just far superior than what we had in the 90s. You know what I mean? Where like literally every punch, you can feel that. Like you feel the bass in that. And so from that aspect, I can appreciate this movie for what it is and what it's trying to do for the industry, and for like just the amount of work that went into this shit is just incredible. I mean, animators and like people who work on anime, they're severely overworked and severely underpaid, but they still create these projects that are amazing to look at. And it's like, when I look at something, I don't know how the fuck they did that. That's something that resonates with me, and I'm like, that shit is incredible. So.
And yes, and like, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And what I'm going to say is, like, I think if you wanted to actually shoot for a perfect movie, you should have done Pokemon 2000.
See, I've never been a big Pokemon fan.
Okay.
I've never seen that.
But like, to me, like, that was literally the turn of the millennia. Like, it came out in 2000, and it rocked the world, and it like had heart. It had your battle scenes.
Right.
And to be honest, the animation style feels similar because the Dragon Ball movie that we watched, like, you know, kind of appeals to that 90s type of animation.
Right.
And I think that there's just a better story in the Pokemon 2000.
Right.
And granted, I grew up, I literally bought 2 decks of Pokemon cards last night. So, like, I'm biased, right? But at the same time, I think that if you're looking at actual, like, checks all the boxes, Pokemon 2000 is a gripping event. But maybe you'll cover it.
I'll have to check that out. But I always thought the one that kind of changed everything was Naruto.
Aren't you a Naruto head? Didn't you?
I am not. No, I am. I call myself parallel to a lot of things because I was very scared as a child. So, like, One Piece I tried watching, it was too scary for me. It was too gory. And Naruto, I also, like, I have just sensory issues in which, like, things that are too loud bother me. So the, like, really, like, bother me. And I can't really do it. So.
No, I definitely
like,
understand that.
And Pokemon, you know, there's more like a Pika, and it's just a little softer.
Yeah. I think we can say that Dragon Ball is the godfather of everything that is to come after it. So there would be no Naruto without Dragon Ball.
Sure.
And there would be no, I mean, like, just these shonen animes where it's like, it's more so about the action than it is about the story per se. And then the choreography that's involved in it. I think Dragon Ball did what it came to do, and it was a certain thing so that all these other animes could do what they do.
Sure.
And so maybe that there is a lack of story, a lack of character development, this and that. But I think it's in service of something greater.
And I totally agree with that, like 100%. But when it comes to is it a perfect movie, this 2018 film, right? Like, I think the lore and just the ground setting that Dragon Ball did is really important to anime, right? But it's not, when I look at this film by itself, not a huge fan. But also, like, again, like, as someone, like, I'm assuming you kind of grew up with this and this was your jam, like, it's meaningful to you, and I respect that, right? Like, they could come out with a Pokemon, like they came out with Detective Pikachu, and I'm like, sign me up, right?
And that movie was terrible, wasn't it?
I actually never saw it because I refused to like, do that to myself.
Okay, and that leads into a larger subject of, like, live action anime. It doesn't work.
Yeah, no, let's not try it.
I have some thoughts on live action anime, and I also want to say that I think jumping into this movie, like, this didn't feel like, maybe it was trying to be, but it didn't feel like it was trying to be like an onboarding point into the Dragon Ball universe. To me, it felt like it felt like it made some half measures towards that, but it didn't do enough.
Okay.
Like, I just watched with Mariah The Force Awakens. We saw it at Orchestra Hall. They played live music when the Star Wars theme started at the beginning, and it was loud as hell. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I got chills.
Yeah.
Your eyes are, like, bulging out of your head. You're so happy right now.
And she was really into it, which and watching it again, episode 7 is a good, like, restart into Star Wars. It really does, like, I was like, oh yeah, I did love this cast. This did have promise.
Yeah.
And then it all got fucked up, but we're not there yet. But she watched it and she was like, I'm into this. I actually want to watch the original Star Wars now. And I was like, cool, we can do that. But that movie did a lot of groundwork for setting up, like it introduced these new characters and then it gave us some background into the old crew. So I think even though she's never seen a Star Wars movie, she was able to track with this whole storyline and be connected to each character within the context of just this one movie. And I felt like this Dragon Ball, it wanted to kind of have its cake and eat it too. It would give you the backstory, but it was kind of like a hand-wavy minute and a half. And that's maybe just Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball doesn't care that much about the story. Dragon Ball is about getting the powers and the punching and being more badass this time.
Turning your hair blue.
And the next time, getting new hair dyes, whatever.
Yeah.
But it just felt like it moved a little too swiftly in the setup. So once we're punching each other, it's a disconnect where I see where you're saying like it should be about enjoying the visuals or whatever, but I felt like I don't even know what I'm expecting from these characters. You know?
Yeah.
Like I was like, is Goku always kind of adult? Like, is he always kind of a little ditzy? I didn't know that about Goku. I always thought Goku was very serious.
Yeah.
For the most part.
He's always an idiot, but once he's in battle mode, like he's
Vegeta.
Vegeta is the angry one.
Yeah,
with
the Widow's Peak. Yeah.
Yeah, Goku, he gets serious when he's ready for battle. Like the thing with Goku, he loves fighting. So it's like whenever he's like constantly seeking somebody to surpass. And that's why he keeps evolving with
He
his
does
power.
feel like the Ash Ketchum. Not once you realize
100%. They have the same hair.
Yeah.
So gotta fight 'em all.
I think so I think what I want to ask you guys, because I know, well, you're familiar with anime.
Correct.
Michael, not so much, and which is fine. It's not everybody's cup of tea. I totally understand that. I want to know what you thought of the animation aspect and just how everything looked and the fight scenes particularly, because I personally just get an adrenaline rush every time I watch that scene. It kind of reminded me of the first time me and you watched Mad Max in theaters, where it's like you just can't breathe. Like it's just so oppressive. Like, but in a good way, where it's like it's not causing me to faint or anything. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
It's such an adrenaline rush and it's so exciting that I can't take my eyes off of it. You know, maybe because again, you just don't have that relationship with it like I do. But
I think that's mostly it. Like I can see and acknowledge that this is like well-crafted animation and is I'm sure the peak of what is that offer kind of in that realm or approaching that peak. It's just when you don't really understand what's going on, and eventually your eyes just kind of glaze over, especially when it's all like I'm the new power, I'm more powerful this time. What's he doing? He's getting more powerful.
Yeah.
And it's like you either have to be fully on board with that ride or you're not. And it's like I don't think there's a lot of in between where for people to be like I was kind of on board with it or whatever. Like if you're not on board with I'm just watching these 40-minute, it's like watching a John Wick movie and being like, why doesn't he talk more? Why don't we learn more about his family or whatever? It's like, no, we're watching him punch people in fancy ways and shoot them in fancy ways. That's the point of this movie.
Right.
And it feels like that, but it just felt like I could have used some of that action to like build some character. That's what I thought watching this Force Awakens again. J.J. Abrams, his one great skill is he does character in action. He will do action scenes that inform character in like heavy ways. And again, that's maybe not this show, but I wanted this character to inform this action to inform some character a little more and get a little more like beef to the character.
Yeah. Instead of just mindless
Physical beef.
action.
Yeah. Instead of
I have a bigger peck now. Okay.
My biceps are getting enlarged.
My 6-pack turned into a 12-pack.
And it's so they make the like shadowing of it so weird. Like to define the muscles, they turn like the shadowing so black so that you can't like see. I'm
man.
like, you're just turning into like it's weird
Dude,
to me.
it's just so funny. I love it. Like I don't know how to explain it. Maybe because I am also like I do
fight.
Like no, I no. I don't want to say I'm an artist, but I do draw and I love art and I just love this style of anime, like just the way, like if you look at like the jawline of Goku, how sharp it is, and it just adds so much definition to like every single like crevice of his structure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like it's so engaging to look at.
Sure.
As opposed to like watching like a cartoon on Cartoon Network or something. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I just find it way more like profound of an art style. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. I think I just like, I don't appreciate it because I just don't like, I associate that with like hyper masculinity.
Sure.
And I'm just like over it, which is literally my complaint about Puss in Boots, right? Puss in Boots, sorry. My mom would correct me. I'm like,
Puss
Mom,
in
I'm
Boots.
doing something on Puss in Boots. She's like, that's what comes out of a pimple, Kayla.
Puss in
I'm
Boots.
like, sorry.
Ew. No, I get the hyper masculinity, and there's some like almost like borderline homoeroticism going on and stuff. It's very different. But also, I think it's like more so. It's just I don't know. I guess of course men would obviously gravitate towards this more than women, and they don't. And I think this goes for the majority of anime. They do not treat women well, as far as like their portrayals of women.
You
in
don't
anime.
say.
Yes, and I will admit that I think it's kind of disgusting the way that they portray women in anime. But also, I think it's a cultural thing, where it's like Japan and these other countries, they just treat that subject a little bit different.
Japan be freaky about shit.
Oh yeah, for sure. And they kind of like the little schoolgirl thing. It's weird. I will be the first to admit that shit is weird. But I'm not there for that. I'm there for the spectacle of it all. So I try not to think too hard about these things.
And this movie is not really like lewd in that way.
No.
It's not.
The lady characters are sidelined a bit, but they're not like.
Not to say that
not
Dragon
like-
Ball doesn't have cool female characters. Like there's a character called Kefla, which is basically like a female version of Broly, but she's awesome. And then there's other characters too.
I like Bulla. Or Bulla.
Bulma, yeah, she's very like headstrong and like she don't take no shit from nobody, that kind of shit.
Is she the one that was like
she's the
befriending Broly?
blue haired chick. She's the wife of Vegeta. No, that was Chile.
Like I liked her well enough. She seemed to be the only character that like acted like a person.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
That had like emotions and wasn't just it wasn't Frieza bent on destroying the Saiyans or.
You didn't like Frieza?
I mean, Frieza's like he's hammy. He's funny.
Fun.
I like
he's such a
Frieza.
fun
Yeah.
character. Like he's just such like always shitting on people or just like or his whole goal for getting the Dragon Balls is like I want to be a couple inches taller. You're like but not
Centimeters, he said.
centimeters.
It's so funny.
But not too much because I don't want anybody to notice. Like that kind of shit. Like, and his voice actor is awesome too.
So good. I was actually gonna like. I have actually gripped by the first scene. Love when movies start with the villain camp, and I think actually that may have been what turned me off to this movie was when I started it. It felt Star Wars. That felt like I was like with the Imperials, right? And like then we're gonna flash to the rebel camp or whatever it was gonna be. But it was like here's the story set up. We meet Frieza. Okay, and then but then it's just like bonk the rest of the time. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's what let me down was I felt like there was gonna be a story built. And I liked Frieza. I really did. I thought he was a really captivating villain.
And it seemed like they had like half a story, and then they're like,
I
"Fuck
know.
it, we're fighting for 40 minutes now."
That's like
Two times.
That's when you gotta recognize that this shit has been around for decades now. And so everybody knows who's followed the anime knows the story. Nobody wants to rehash. And if you did rehash it, you'd technically have to reboot the entire thing. If you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
So there would be too much controversy for that shit, and they probably don't want to waste the energy in doing that shit just to appeal to a Western audience.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I will say this. I understand all the flaws. And I accept everything that you guys have to say about this movie.
He's gonna cry.
And I will say that this is the last time I will be on this podcast.
Oh, no.
I'm just kidding.
You know, call me a racist, but a lot of these sayings look the same. I'm just saying.
I literally have...
Super
I
Saiyan.
cannot
Are you
tell
Saiyanist?
I'm super sane.
I could not tell who the main character is. I thought they were all the same person
Hey,
for a
Saiyan
while.
lives matters, guys. Okay? It's not cool, man.
Vegeta, I saw, but it also was confusing because I was like, this Kakarot guy looks a lot like Goku.
And then Broly looks a lot like Goku as well.
Yeah.
And then there's another character with that they form together and they look like Goku again.
So
I did like the sequence where they were trying to do the fusion dance, right?
Yeah.
their fingers misaligned. So
And then they're like
funny.
fat or whatever. And like,
and then like skinny and
Hey, Vegeta! Do you know the fusion technique?
Fusion technique? Yeah, now that you mentioned it, I've heard Trunks talk about that before. Oh, when you do an absurd dance and join together?
Uh-huh. You know, fusion ha, okay?
Nonsense! As if I'd ever merge myself with a fool!
Come on, it's only for 30 minutes. Plus, we joined together before with the Patara earrings. But we don't have any of those now. So fusion's the only chance we have to beat this guy.
There has to be some other way! At least tell me there's a method that doesn't require these stupid dance moves!
It's the only way to win, so you have to swallow your pride or the Earth will be done for.
Then I guess the Earth is done for.
And I like that Piccolo's like, yeah, I'm just on the sidelines. I don't really fight. Is that Piccolo's character all the time? Is
Piccolo is like very stoic and like he just like.
Does he ever get
Yoda.
into it? Is he a big
Yeah,
fighter?
actually, the most recent movie that came out was Piccolo and Gohan centric, which is Gohan is Goku's son.
oh, who's Goku's lady friend?
Is Chi-Chi.
No.
I will never know if that's real or fake.
Time will tell. Good God.
Oh my god! I just destroyed my whole argument with just saying
Oh God.
Oh,
Okay, can I do some alternate titles for this real quick? Title alternate not do. Did you? Yeah. We showed on this for 30 make the last titles and alternate title. My alternate main standing procrastinated a bit of. Look.
this is like fences.
Yeah. This is basically fences.
Fences, but more punching.
Broly's the son, and what's his nuts? What's his name?
Paragus is Troy.
Paragus was a bad dad.
Wasn't there a kid named Trunks at some
Yes,
point?
Trunks is Vegeta's
Trunks.
son.
Vegeta.
Vegeta and Bulma's son.
Could they not have called him Vegeta? Vegeta.
Okay, so
feels a
fun fact:
little-
all of the Dragon Ball characters, their names are based on vegetables. So
Goku?
Kakarot, carrot,
VeggieTales
Piccolo,
meets
pickle,
anime.
Vegeta, vegetable.
I want a
Frieza,
VeggieTales
Freezer.
Dragon Ball, like Larry Boy, but his VeggieTales.
And he just like he's got the hair.
Yeah,
He's just a
yeah.
a
Larry
cucumber.
Boy, but he's Goku.
I'm the Roomba.
It's
Where
Frieza.
is my hairbrush? Well, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this movie.
I have more alternate titles.
I have a couple more too.
All right,
You
go
got
ahead.
one?
I
Lay 'em
do.
on me.
People are fighting, and sometimes their hair changes color.
Yes. Yeah, so you're not wrong. Like, that's what it is.
A study in how you can always just punch a little harder.
Man wears ear as belt.
It's really more of like what do the Scots wear?
It's like a,
Like a
kilt.
kilt.
It's like a
kilt,
kilt.
yeah.
And do you think does he think he's dangling down there, just free and loose?
Oh, I'm
free
sure
birding under
he's
the-
hung.
100% commando.
I'm sure
Okay.
he's hung like a motherfucker.
Okay, not
They
what
don't
I
wear
asked.
underwear with kilts.
That's what I'm saying. Not what I asked.
You said, wait, are you sure?
I asked if he didn't wear underwear, and he was like, "I'm sure he's hung like a horse."
Let me talk about this.
Hey, anybody with them type of biceps. Actually, no, maybe because steroids makes your dangling small.
Look, we also know Dragon Ball has lots of Rule 34 subject matter.
Oh, for sure.
As
Oh.
I'm surprised because you were like, I was browsing Reddit. I was like, damn, did you
you
see
find
some,
any
Did you see
porn?
some porn on there?
My last name's attached to this. I did not see any porn. I was very careful though. Like, I will also say that my Reddit name is very. You would never know it's me.
Okay, good.
It's witch, dwarf, cat, lady.
It's actually Mama Binks because I love Jar Jar Binks.
Oh.
But now you know.
Misa, watch Dragon Ball Z, Annie.
You so want to cuddle in the bed?
You know,
I will
sad
put my
story about
home.
that guy.
He came back in The Mandalorian.
He did.
The season that
But
everybody hated.
he was so shitted on by fans that he tried to jump off a bridge.
No.
He said, "He's no wanna live, sir."
Oh my god. Take a drink.
I'm surprised we haven't been canceled yet because I don't know. I feel
There's
like
a-
it's coming.
Nobody listens.
There's a
Kayla.
helpline. There's a helpline. Call 811. That's 988. Is
The
811
Call
the
one
dinging
eight
one?
hundred.
Oh, God.
Call 1-800. Misa need help.
Stop.
Sad Gungans call.
Oh yeah, sad story about.
Good God.
You know, they got cold feet and they were going to make Jar Jar a villain.
Yeah, what I heard is he was supposed to be the overarching villain.
Yes, he was supposed to be Darth Jar Jar. He would have been like, Misa has fallen to the darker side.
That would have made me.
Lucas Skywalker. I knew your daddy.
I am your daddy.
His name was Andy.
No, this is pod racing.
Dude, I had that video game on PC.
Let's try spinning. That's a cool trick. Weren't we talking about Dragon Ball just now? Anyways, we can move on. Because obviously, I'm in the minority here.
Can we talk about the voice acting?
Yes.
So, a fun little game that I play when I watch anime is, where the hell do I know this person from? And I found out some really disturbing information, actually, because the person who voices Broly is Vic Mignogna? I don't
Something
know how
like
to say
that.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
But he is a creep.
Yes, but I'm so upset by that because he plays Tamaki in Ouran High School Host Club.
He's got a great voice.
He does, and I love Tamaki as a character.
Yeah.
I love that anime series. And it shattered me to hear he was a D-bag.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, that's when you have to kind of separate the art from the artist kind of thing.
Oh,
where
see,
it's like,
cancel Kanye. I can't do that.
I don't know. I still love me some 808s and Heartbreak, but
It is hard to rebound from "I love Hitler."
but then he said he liked 21 Jump Street, so it's okay.
Bound to falling in love with Hitler. It's like not good. Like not a good thing.
Right. But what was I going to say about the voice acting? This is actually one of the only animes where I prefer the dub. Because I really like the voice actors and they do an amazing job.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't Frieza kind of sound like Starscream?
A little bit. Yeah, he's got that real like high-pitched villainous voice.
Yeah.
I also really like Bardock, who I believe is Goku's dad.
Yes.
Correct? So he is voiced by Sonny Strait, and he is in the 2019 remake of Fruits Basket, which is all about the zodiac signs. And then My Hero Academia, Attack on Titan, and then he's also in Borderlands, like the video game series.
Okay. Do you know who else is in My Hero Academia? The voice actor for Vegeta, he plays All Might.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that written down somewhere too. There's a lot of My Hero Academia crossover with this.
Because it's the same studio.
And Funimation.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Love me some Funimation.
Shonen is they make good stuff.
Yeah, they do.
Kaylin, can you explain to me how Frieza threw a big glowy ball at the Saiyan planet and blowed it up? Can you just blow up planets at will? Because it seems like that could have come in useful during the rest of this plot.
Again, just turn your brain off. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Like, that's just how you explain Dragon Ball.
So
Don't
question. Do you think Zack Snyder would make a good live-action Dragon Ball?
Absolutely, because you know what? The Man of Steel fight scene is ripped straight out of Dragon Ball.
That's what I was thinking. Is Man of Steel secretly the first Dragon Ball movie?
Yes, I would say so. Minus like the sound effects of like getting punched and stuff. All you need to do is like, I'm sure there's an edit somewhere on YouTube where people added in the sound effects of Dragon Ball to Man of Steel. It would be like,
except
literally just
everybody would be mopey and self-serious, so you would need like somebody else to be there to do the actual like anime action, and so everybody's not like, I hate my life and my mom's name is Martha and I'm sad, you know?
Yeah.
So somebody else would come in and be like, punching in the lines that are like, his power level's 9,000.
Yeah.
And it's like a bad voiceover, like the mouth is still moving to talk about Martha, but then you just hear, his power level's 9,000!
Power level, he thought about Martha and it made him angrier. Oh my god!
It's breaking my glasses!
That's impossible.
So that leads to the larger question of like, should they ever do a live action Dragon Ball, which they have already, which is fucking awful. And I actually sat and watched that piece of shit. We were going to do a podcast on it, excuse me, and we never did it, thank God, because that shit was ass. But I don't think they ever should. It's not that it can't be done, but I just think there's just so much other shit that is centric to what anime is where you can't replicate that live action.
I think it might not be Dragon Ball, but I think there is one day. The day is coming. Right now we're having with video games because The Last of Us happened and it was a big success. But the day is coming where somebody's going to make a successful anime adaptation that hits worldwide. It's going to be the new Harry Potter or whatever the fuck.
Sure.
It's going to be the biggest thing ever. And then 1 million studios are coming along to make their anime
I'm trying to
live
think of
action
what they'll
adaptation.
do, but it might be Demon Slayer.
I would kill for a Black Butler live anime.
Never seen Black Butler.
Oh my god. It's so good. So good.
They made Attack on Titan live action in Japan.
You know, I've seen some clips of that. They all look like the Green Knight giants.
Yes.
Because they're not like digital. They are live action people that they're like sizing up and using as digital inserts.
Those movies didn't do well. I think they did Rurouni Kenshi as well. They did there's tons of them. They did Cowboy Bebop on Netflix.
You know who
Cowboy Bebop.
It's trash.
You know who might make a good anime movie? Guillermo del Toro.
Not the anime, but the live action.
The live action. Okay, I was like,
I'm sorry, Michael. You were saying.
You know who might make a good live action anime? Guillermo del Toro. Like Pacific Rim, but it's animes. Or maybe he would make
he could do like a live action Gundam.
I was gonna say that's already a live action Gundam basically.
Yeah,
They just couldn't pull the word.
Sure. I could see that.
But he just is so good at like ugly characters in strange worlds and introducing you to that like
I would say Zack Snyder would probably be the best bet to make a live action anime. Just because he knows how to do action well. I think that's his only real positive. His action scenes are awesome most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen the movie Sucker Punch, which it's an all female cast.
Yep, I know what you're
and
talking about.
they're super badass and they're fighters, but that's ripped straight out of anime. Like it's kind of crazy.
That one flopped because it came out in the same year as.
I don't know, all kind of stuff. I think
it was not early 2000, but late 2000s into 2000.
I feel like it was like 2010.
Yeah,
like
it was after 300, so people were excited for it, but like never did well.
Yeah.
But
it also was battling with like some real superhero movie, like
Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which like, and not to say that I've never seen it, but like the Sucker Punch women might be real heroes. I don't know, but I think it was just like having lore behind something versus not. Plus, you have all females, so I mean, you're gonna lose a lot of male.
Yeah,
Dude, listen to this, 2011. So, Sucker Punch flopped. Listen to all these franchise movies at the top: Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, Transformers: Dark of the Moon, Twilight Saga: Breaking Dawn Part 1, Hangover Part 2, Pirates of the Caribbean: On Stranger Tides, Fast 5, Cars 2, Thor: Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Captain America: First Avenger, and then we get to The Help at number 11.
Ooh, The Help also.
The Help is a great movie. My girlfriend loves that movie.
It's a good one.
She really wanted you to watch that, Michael, for Black History Month.
No chance.
Yeah.
My pie.
She's like, eat my shit.
There you go.
Yeah. She'll be happy that we shouted this movie out.
Hell yeah.
And
also,
mad at me. Go ahead.
I have said this to Michael time and time again, but if you ever do Twilight on this, I am your resident expert.
But we're going to be shitting on it the whole time.
Oh,
That's fine. I will come in with my defending arguments.
We might bring up Twilight if we ever do The Lighthouse, which is also starring Robert Pattinson.
Oh, yes.
Because I think The Lighthouse is probably one of the best films of the past decade. So if we ever do bring that up or do that, we might bring up Twilight and then try to riff on it a little bit, just to see that Robert Pattinson is actually a great actor and that he needs to be recognized as a great actor and not as the guy from Twilight.
He hated Twilight, to be fair.
Oh, I'm sure all the actors hated Twilight.
They did. It was like a running joke.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Who's it that plays Bella Thorne?
Bella Thorne is a
Is that a real person?
Is the actress
Bella Swan, and it's Kristen Stewart. Kristen
Oh.
Stewart
Stewart.
and Ron Pattinson dated, but then she cheated on him with the director of the
See,
Huntsman.
this is why we need you on here more, because you
You're
know
like
all the tea.
You're like our tea corner for sure.
Tea corner.
We need to know who's dating who.
call it the cauldron.
Oh, rabbit's foot.
We need a segment on here called the. We need a segment on here called the Witches Cove.
The witch's brew. The witch's coven.
Ooh, okay.
And then you come on here just with all the tea, and you just throw it in your cauldron.
I predict a bad future
And
for
you mix it up,
my pretty.
I don't know if this is like.
and then you melt at the end of it.
Okay.
I've never thrown water at you. What would happen?
Let's find out. Poor secret.
Holy water. You just like flick some holy water, just starts sizzling.
I am a woman of God, Kaylin.
Shall we move on and ask the final question?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And he was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Is this a perfect movie?
Are these perfect movies?
Are these perfect movies? Let's answer that question first for Dragon Ball Super Broly, because I think there will be less.
Can I just say no? It's not. It's not a perfect movie.
Okay, there we go.
It's not. I will be the first to admit it's not. I personally love it. I just wanted you guys to experience this.
Why me? You don't know me.
Well, you came a little after the fact.
Okay, fair
but
enough.
that's fine, because I'm glad I had somebody else who actually appreciates anime and that was like, okay, I'm gonna check this out. And you didn't like it. It would not to say you didn't like it, but it's like you didn't
like
enjoy
it.
It
as
wasn't
much
my
as me.
style.
Yeah,
It wasn't
that's
my
fine.
style.
That's fine. Have you ever seen Promised Neverland?
No,
feel
but
like you
that
would like
was
that.
it was actually just recommended to
Okay,
me.
you should watch that.
Okay.
Anyways, Dragon Ball. Michael, I know that you
Yeah.
don't care,
Yeah.
which is fine. This was like this is like a guilty pleasure for me. And you did this for me because guess what? My birthday's next week.
Yeah.
And this is my birthday gift from Michael. So appreciate
Happy
it.
birthday.
Oh, thank you so much.
Taurus season. Let it rain.
Let it ring.
So Dragon
Let
Ball's
it ring.
not a perfect movie, so that's where we get down to the nitty gritty.
The nitty gritty.
And we talk about Puss in Boots' Last Wish. This one, I had an idea of what I was going to vote when I came into this, but I feel like our discussion was more positive than I expected.
Yes.
So I want to know where we land. Kayla, you're the guest. You have, we haven't really tallied like how much power the guest has in our induction.
Infinite.
But I would like your input on whether you think this is a perfect movie.
Hear me out. Absolutely not. I think that it's a good movie. I think it's a really good movie. And I think when you compare it to other animated films, it's not perfect. I also think that my bar for perfection is higher than maybe what the podcast wants. Like, I remember in your intro, you're like, oh, if aliens come and want to probe you or something. Like I think that the aliens would enjoy it, right? But I don't
enjoy the probing.
Oh.
Do they do that for their pleasure or our pleasure?
Oh my God. You're starting to sound like the people of Reddit. But I just feel like it was very cute. It was surprisingly, meaningful, but I don't think it was as good as like a Finding Nemo or a Tangled or,
Facts.
I think when you compare it to other movies in the animation genre, it doesn't hold up. Yeah.
I'm happy to hear that it sounds like we're unspokenly all on the same page. I think this goes in the hall of very good.
Yeah.
The hall of this is very charming and surprisingly charming for what it is. Like, you wouldn't have caught me dead catching a Puss in Boots movie ever.
No, it's very
But I heard
surprising.
good things. I saw some clips of the early action sequence. I was like, this is more... There's more going on here than I ever would have expected from Puss in Boots 3, The Last Wish.
Right.
It is more exciting and skillfully crafted and thoughtfully crafted than I think the third Puss in Boots movie ever deserved.
Right.
It is surprisingly good. It is not a perfect movie. It's like an 8 out of 10.
Right.
And a perfect movie needs to be in that high 9s, 10 out of 10 kind of deal.
Right.
It's a good movie to take your family to see. Like, it's like, that's a good, you go to Red Lobster beforehand, right? Like,
If you're rich.
fine. You go to an Applebee's, you get some spinach artichoke dip, your kids leave their
Kids
plate.
are like, spinach? Gross.
I don't know.
Ew.
My palate is too refined for Applebee's and Red Lobster. So.
All right, continue your point. We're being rude.
Okay, well, if you grew up in the Sorley family, this would be very much that your parents took you and your sister to a little Friday movie date night.
Yeah,
you went to a chain restaurant in Green Bay, Wisconsin, because you have to drive an hour to get to a movie theater. And then you eat some spinach and artichoke dip, and then you go watch some Cats. Like,
It's pretty legit.
yeah.
Kayla, I don't know if I ever told you, but this podcast is highly inspired by Wisconsinites.
Tell me more, and I am thrilled.
Okay, why don't you? Yeah, go ahead.
You're good.
So our me and Kaylin's, well, my favorite YouTube channel. I think it's probably one of his favorite YouTube channels. It's called Red Letter Media. They're a group of
yes.
like mid. Oh yeah, I showed you Best of the Worst.
Yes, you did.
Bunch of middle-aged guys from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Love Milwaukee.
And they don't do a podcast, but essentially what they're doing oftentimes could be a podcast. They do
Right.
movie reviews along with Best of the Worst, which is when they watch awful movies and discuss
Podcast
them.
adjacent. Sorry.
So all I'm saying is this is heavily Wisconsin influence, so it's good to have a Wisconsinite on here because we've kind of grifted some of our ideas and humor from Wisconsin already.
So this doesn't have to be included on the podcast, but I do want to have this argument with you because I did just go to Madison, Wisconsin last weekend to finish my 3-year D&D campaign. And on the last 1 or 2 episodes of this, you and Kayla were saying that it was the Scott Pilgrim episode. You're saying you expected Honor Among Thieves, which is the D&D movie, to flop. And absolutely not. And you're wrong. It is an amazing movie. Amazing movie.
I never said it was going to be bad. I just didn't think people would go see it.
But like people are, and I think that's where you underestimated the D&D community as a whole. Like right now, the popcorn buckets that they sold for the opening weekend of it are going on eBay for $200. It's a D20 that you can put popcorn in. It's super sick. It's like a 3D printed D20.
Yeah. No, just the way it was marketed, it seemed like it was really aiming at like the everyman, like trying to rope that person
But
in.
it is. But like it's an action movie at its base. You don't have to understand the game of D&D to go and enjoy that movie.
Yeah.
It's like a legitimately good action movie. It's got fantasy, it's got action, it's got not even that much romance, to be honest with you. It's and there's parts, I think the thing that I really appreciated, welcome back, Kayla, we're talking about the D&D Honor Among Thieves that I saw last weekend.
She
that
said
you
I was
guys were
wrong
all
when I claimed that it
crapping
would
on.
flop.
I heard great things about it.
Both of us said it would be good. We just didn't think people would see it.
No, people are seeing it, like, big time.
I didn't think it was going to be good. I thought it was going to be like Clash of the Titans.
No, it's very good. It's very good. And you don't have to understand the concept of D&D to enjoy it, but there are certain points that I think it's helpful to have the background of the game. Like at one point, I don't want to do any spoilers, but like at one point they're in a tight spot and one of the main characters uses an item that you would not expect to be lethal, and it gets them out of the spot. And even me, who's played it for 3 years, I'm like, what? That shouldn't have worked. And then it clicks like that, but that happens in your campaign. You get put in a corner, you have no way out, and you roll a D20. You're like, I'm just going to shoot for the stars and hope that something works, and you roll a D20 and it works. But then on the offside, like there's times that they have plans and then things like misalign because they roll lower.
Have you played a single game for 3 years?
Yes, I was in a campaign for 3 years. We just ended last
Jesus
weekend.
Christ.
That's a lot.
I've heard guys going for like 20-some years. Something crazy like that.
That's wild to me because typically you cap out at a level of 20.
Okay.
I mean, I might be
Unless
wrong
you're
with
changing
that.
the rules up a little bit or something.
Well, I wonder if maybe they like create characters that exist within that campaign and within that world, and then just trade characters type of thing. Like, oh, I play like my character was Torrent. Maybe I play Torrent until she reaches level 30, and then but the shopkeeper is secretly blah blah blah.
I'm gonna name my first D&D character Pirate Bay because your name is Torrent.
Torrent pretty much was a Pirate Bay.
I'm gonna name mine Reddit.
Reddit.
Is it just gonna be?
And I'm
That
gonna
sounds
be,
like a human.
I'm gonna be wearing like my character's gonna wear like bondage stuff.
Oh.
Okay. So you're a rogue.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. And I get real weird. Real weird.
My primary weapon is a ball gag.
Oh, so you would really like Dungeons and Daddies, some podcast. Anyways,
Damn, we talked about a lot today.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Now we're at Dungeons and Dragons. It's amazing.
Kayla, you said it all.
thanks. I do. I'm a talkative person. You knew that already.
This is what we need, though. You know, this is what we need to spice up the pod.
You know, sometimes you see me and I'm just like tumbleweeds through the brain, and Kayla's here trying to talk to me, and I'm just like, you know.
He's like drooling.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
True.
Coming down off of like a 2-day bender. Yeah.
This is not true. Total false. I say hiding my track marks.
Oh my god. Let me see your arm.
Should we cut that one? Do we need to cut that one for your future
For my license?
for your future
Yes.
employability?
The American, I'm not even gonna say it. The board is gonna
The
have
board
my
is after
neck.
you. You have a friend who once joked about track marks? Out of here.
You think you're joking?
We're ready to sign off.
Let's do our outro real quick.
Remember our outro? Remember that thing we do for our outro?
I remember. Let's keep it going a little bit. Let's keep it flowing. Are you uncomfortable?
Are you uncomfortable? Are you looking at the time? Do you see the time?
Michael,
are you looking at your podcast?
are you uncomfortable? Because I'm not.
I'm not. I'm not uncomfortable at all. I love this. We're just sitting here, and it's about to be the end. Is it the end yet? Do you see it? Look down at your podcast app.
What
Are you
time
on
is it?
Spotify? Are we at the end yet? How long's the outro song?
Let's
Do you
keep the
know?
outro going.
Let's do the math.
There was one you guys had an outro for like 5 minutes.
This is our flow. This is how we do. This is what.
Like going forward 15 seconds.
You mean you didn't watch our entire outro? Maybe we said something significant in
Are
that
you talking
outro.
about just the music, or just us just talking like this? Just talking like this in a circular motion. Yeah,
Michael,
sometimes
you want another White Claw?
sometimes I just clip the end of the song to the end of the podcast, but we've been going for almost 2 hours, so fat chance I do that on this one.
We should do some riffing. We should do some like old school blues stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wim boy. Oh, wim boy. Oh, wim boy.
That's not the. We were about to start riffing on some blues over here, and you're over here doing the Lion King shit, man.
I'm doing like swing music. I'm sorry.
swing music.
You
So
never, okay.
Michael's
You messed up on it.
Michael, you're a swinger. Is that what you're saying? We should tell the board about this.
Pineapple. I don't want pineapple. Yeah.
Goodbye.
Thanks for coming on my podcast.
Oh, we didn't say thank you to Kayla. Kayla, thanks for joining us today. I hope you had fun.
You know, when I said you said it all, I feel like I said it all when you said it all.
Thank you, Kayla.
You did.
No more thanks to her, okay?
Because we don't do that here at the Perfect Movie Podcast. We give our guests one credit.
We give you the cold shoulder.
More power. My hair's gonna turn blue.